Buenos dias. We are the air.
Oh, I left my coffee in the makeup room. Buenos dias, ladies.
How are you?
I am fantastic. Happy Monday to you.
Yes. It couldn't get any better than this. We have a celebrity on our show today.
More.
A woman you should know.
And before we jump into that, I am Elizabeth, and this is a show about nothing.
And I'm Marisel, and it's a show about everything. Well, today I get to introduce our guest, Ms. Lourdes Duarte. Thank you for joining us today at BoricuaTalks. And what can I say about you that everybody already knows, but I am one of your biggest fans. I have watched you. You interviewed me like 10, 12 years ago with Brown Girls Chronicles. So I see you're still with WGN, which is amazing. And you bring a lot of Latina twist into that. So I really love what you do there. And let's get started. Let's see, who is Lourdes Duarte? I know my favorite thing is that I've been following you now is Maddie. Oh my God.
It's a topic that I can talk about for hours.
Exactly. I mean, the glow in your face, her priceless eyes looking at you and communicating. I mean, she's another next WGN in the making, right?
Okay, so should I tell people who Maddie is?
Yes.
Maddie is my 1-year-old daughter.
Ready?
She's just turned 1 last week, and she is the love of my life. I think she is the most beautiful, the biggest sweetheart, the smartest little girl, which I think that's how every parent feels about their child.
Absolutely.
She's awesome. I'll show you a picture that we just took yesterday. So I was with Anna. We do this workout, Anna, here at the station at WGN every Sunday. And her daughter, who is now, I want to say 13, has taken a liking to Miss Maddie. And here are the two of them together. Look how cute is this picture.
Oh, that is beautiful. Look how, oh my gosh.
Don't they look so?
Yes. Oh my God, they have like this bond.
Yeah.
You can see it in that picture.
She's my BFF.
And so Maddie's starting to kind of walk. She's
there she goes.
Amazing.
She's working on it, but she's fantastic. We have so much fun. She brings so much more joy than I ever thought possible. Right? Like you always know when before you have kids, you're like, okay, of course I'm going to love my child and it's going to be fantastic and it's going to be great. But this is so much more. Like I could have never even expected it, that it was going to be that much love.
Yes. And then they turn into teenagers and you're like,
yeah. Oh God, don't scare me.
It's always unconditional, but they go through those phases. You know, you start thinking, like sometimes I might have a 16-year-old, right? I'm like, okay, he's gone in 2 more years. So how many years of headaches did he really give me? You know, it's the question that I ask myself. It has been bad.
One? Do you only
I
have
have two.
Two
boys. Two boys. One's gone already, and then just a 16-year-old. Yeah, it's fun.
It is fun.
I had to start all over because I have 8 grandchildren. And baby Elijah just turned 1, so he is following in Maddie's footsteps with the little steps, and they're just so adorable. I mean, like, my God, when this is all said and done, we're gonna have to do a play date with Maddie and Elijah.
Okay. Maddie's a big flirt, so she will love. She is a big flirt. She knows how to smile, that's for sure.
There you go.
Fashion statements too. I love the little barrettes you
Try.
So Anna, tell us about you. For people, Lourdes, you said Anna.
Use us all the time.
Last weekend.
We were at a show, and I just kind of make it always stay with me for a second there.
Use us all the time. Okay, so about me, let's see. So new mom, obviously. I've been working here at WGN it'll be 13 years, I want to say next week.
Wow. Wow.
So
Congratulations.
thank you. Yeah. This is a great place to work and make friends and be and have a family life, because they're very understanding that, you know, there are times that as a mom, my full commitment is to that and my family, and then work kind of becomes secondary. And sometimes work, you know, comes first and you have to put in extra hours, but they completely understand and are more than willing to work with you. But I actually started out here working weekends.
Oh.
General assignment reporter 13 years ago, and I worked with a photographer by the name of Mike D'Angelo, who is like one of the head photographers now, and I just saw him in the makeup room. And then from there, eventually I got moved up to do other shows here at WGN. I did, when we launched the 5 p.m. show years and years ago, I did that with Mark Sapelsa, if some of you remember that.
Yes.
And then probably hands down the most fun I've ever had was doing the morning show, which I did for, I want to say 3 years, along with Dan Ponce and Robin and Larry. And that was when we created the telenovela, which is what people always ask me about.
Yes.
So that was probably the most fun I had. And then because I'm such a news junkie and love being a part of news, and you kind of have a front row seat to history, I wanted to come back to the afternoon shows. And I do the investigative unit. So what that means is a lot of the longer format stories, the longer pieces that might be 4 or 5 minutes long, and you really get to dig deep into a topic. So I produce and put those together, and then also anchor the 4 p.m. show. And then on top of that, I do Adelante Chicago, which is our public affairs show here at WGN, which highlights the Latino community throughout Chicago, which, as you know, is growing and continues to grow and is so full of energy, and I think has a lot of good things that we need to be showcasing.
Absolutely.
That's kind of my overall big picture view.
I was on your show, your Adelante show, 1 year.
A wild show.
It was. I was so nervous. Like, oh my God, I'm gonna be with Lourdes.
Oh my God.
If you go back to that, you know, the taping that we did, I was laughing a lot. Like, I was chuckling a lot. That's how I get when I get nervous. So oh yeah. And I just
that was your debut for Boricua Talks now, because now you're not nervous and
Nope.
you're amazing.
No. I love your WGN. You, like you said, you are a family, but you are always having fun on the show.
Yeah.
And you know what makes it so fun? Why is everybody so naturally like having fun all the time?
I don't know. I think we just got fortunate enough that the people who work here, none of us really take ourselves too seriously.
Okay. Yes.
Like, we like what we do and we like each other. And I think it's such a relaxed atmosphere that lends itself to this camaraderie and building friendships and being that very much a family, right? Like, even when we make mistakes, it's not, you'll work at other places where it's like, how could you do that? You're getting called into the office. You get, here it's not like that. It's like, hey, you made a mistake. How do we fix that? How do we make sure that doesn't happen again? But it doesn't become, monumental to work.
Yes.
You're embarrassed or you're, so I think that's part of it. We just kind of play and have fun and don't take ourselves too seriously.
Yeah, it's always fun when I watch you with the channel. I don't it depends, so I guess sometimes I'm at 5 a.m, sometimes it's a little bit later, but it's always so much fun.
I hope so. We hope so. And that's what you want people to take away from it. They want, if you're going to be home with your family watching TV, yes, you obviously need to get the news and you need to be informed, but I don't think we need to make it so like, in your face, right? You got to be a relaxed atmosphere to where you're going to want to be informed and want to know what's going on without feeling like I'm so overwhelmed by all the news that I'm getting that I just want to shut down and shut it off. You shouldn't walk away from watching the newscast. And I know it's hard to do, especially in this day and age. So depressed. You don't want to go on with the day, right? You should watch it being informed, knowing what's going on, knowing that things need to change and what's how do we look ahead to make sure that things change, but not be so depressed that you have a difficult time sort of moving on to your daily activities, if that makes sense.
Yes, yes. And
Yeah.
how do you transition from, reporting some, like what's going on nowadays and a couple of, days that we've had? How do you transition when you go home? How do you detune that negativity?
Yes.
And then also, like, I would believe you're working on thinking like, how can I make change? How can I bring something different? And do the transition when you go home to Maddie. But I believe, let me answer this for you. I think it is when you see her smiling face, nothing else matters, right? But for you, how does the transition? How do you transition?
I think a lot of that comes with, you have to have a positive attitude, just not only in news, but I think in life in general. The more grateful and the more positive you can be about your view of the world, the better off you are, because then it helps you make that transition to the next stage of your life. So when I leave here every afternoon, I think, okay, today there were 5 shootings or 10 shootings or this happened and this is terrible, but I've got to believe and be confident enough that things are being done to try to improve the situation. And I do think we have some of those folks out there and organizations out there that are trying to help the situation. It's just, it's slow moving, but I try to remain as positive as I can that things are going to get better. Because otherwise, it just becomes so difficult. We see so much horrible news every day that you have to find a way to cope with it.
That's really great advice, because I love watching the news, but then I'm like, oh, I can't watch news anymore. Me estoy poniendo loca. This is so depressing. And I don't get like really depressed or anything about it. I just kind of get like, oh, I don't want to watch this anymore. But I know it's important and it's relevant because you have to keep up with what's going on and I'm going to tell you, Lourdes, there were times when I would stop watching the news, and my news was my siblings texting every morning, did you guys watch this on the news? Did you see that? Because I wouldn't watch it. I'm like, no, okay, got it, So I think being positive, like seeing, yes, this is happening not only here, but around the country, and that we walk away with a positive mindset that something definitely is going to be done or taken care of, that this is, we're not the only ones in this place, right, in this situation. Sometimes I think we are, right? Because we're always being profiled in World News Today, tonight, and other places. But it's the mindset. It's the mindset.
Not having a positive attitude, but thinking to, okay, what can I do to make things better? What is my contribution as a member, as a Chicago resident? What can I do to make things a little bit better? I think at this moment in time, it becomes so much more difficult because I'm sure you guys do a certain amount of volunteer work, or you try to help, or you give back in some way. I know certainly for me, it's something that I want to instill in Maddie, that volunteering is, I always use the quote, volunteering is the rent you pay for the space you occupy on earth. It's what you give back. But it's very difficult right now because of COVID and the pandemic, and so many things are shut down. So the way that you would give back, maybe a year ago, you can no longer do that. So we have to be creative and show some ingenuity in how we offer some helps to the communities in need. And I think you've been really good at that, Marisel, too.
Yeah, no, most definitely. I mean, you come home and you try to detach because, working in owns a restaurant, it's like we have to keep them safe. We have to keep ourselves safe. I mean, this is real. This is going on. I can't not, if I skip the news, it's still my everyday life when we go into work. But before going into work, when everything was like completely shut down, my next question to you, Lourdes, is what have you learned, or did you progress in, like, for example, cooking? Did you expertise that now? Because I see you in the kitchen. Or is it something that is new to you? What is it that you have learned?
Like a hobby maybe that I've picked up.
A hobby?
Yeah. Okay. Well, you know that everything revolves around Maddie. So
Yeah.
we spent a lot of time together. I've been trying to read a lot about language and how kids pick up language,
Yes.
right? So right now, we want her to be bilingual, and my mom takes care of her during the day. So she's, hearing Spanish all the time. My husband doesn't speak Spanish, so we try to talk to her in English at home.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to figure out a good in-between. How do we do that so that she picks up both languages? So I've been focusing a little bit on that and learning a little about that. And then the next thing I've been trying to come up with recipes and ideas on baby food. Like baby food that goes together, and I can make her like really healthy, natural stuff that I can blend together myself. So those sorts of things. I mean, when you have a baby, you spend so much time with them, staring at them, really. I never thought I could stare at another human being for that long.
Look at her little toes.
Yeah. Trying to nap whenever you can, whenever she naps. So.
That's so funny. When I had my son, I used to make baby food and freeze it in ice cubes. I don't know if you do that, right?
Really?
Yeah.
That.
Yeah, like the carrots and the peas, whatever it was that I would make, freeze it in ice cubes, and then when I needed it, I just pull it out and then heat it up and give the baby the food. So I never did really the jar food.
Yeah, I do some of the jar food, but then I try to, like, every weekend I make her a portion for that week, and then I freeze it, and then Monday I take a lunch, Tuesdays like that. And I've come up with all sorts of carrots and peanut butter and lentejas with sweet potato. Like, I've just like really tried to create some different things.
You see.
I thought, Elizabeth, you were gonna say that you froze it and gave it to him as popsicles.
No.
Right? It would be a treat, it's cold, it's good for them. So maybe
that's true.
I've got to introduce her to some arroz con gandules.
Oh, yes.
Oh, yes.
Take it up Ponce, yeah.
She would love that.
We need a food critic, and the kids, they tell the truth.
They'll be like, throwing it back at you, Marisel.
No, when she likes something, because she goes,
Oh.
That body language.
So you said that you mentioned that you hang out with Ana Maravilla, right? So when you two get together, are you like funny and joking, or is it she, or you guys are like in mom mode kind of type of people?
Well, I'll tell you what, I've always really looked up to Ana. When she was working at Univision here local back in the late 90s, early 2000s, I was also working at Telemundo. So we're like a year or two apart. Okay. I was still in college, so I was interning, and then they kind of hired me to freelance report, and Ana was like this like beauty queen who was so talented and just so wonderful at the work that she was doing. And I always back then remember looking up to her like, oh, I wonder if I'll ever one day be as good as she is. And life comes full circle. We end up working together, all these years later. But she's the funny one. We're going to leave the funny stuff.
Okay.
She's the funny one. I unfortunately do not have that gift. I wish I did, but I just don't. But we just have fun together. It's nice to have that. We have similar culture, similar background. We can talk Spanish back and forth. I don't know, we just really relate to each other, and I just think she's one of the most wonderful human beings on this planet, and she has raised such a beautiful daughter who is, it makes me I hope my daughter is as great as Ame.
Yeah.
So
she is so funny. She is. We went to see her show this week, last week, right? Yeah, and she was so funny because, she's talking about COVID, so it's amazing how you can take your personal stories and make it a comedy, but I almost fell off my chair when she threw herself on the floor. She was like, my son was like, oh, he was like, he's on the floor.
I'm so bummed I didn't get to see it. So I tried to buy tickets, and they were sold out. And obviously because of COVID, they have to have some really strong restrictions in place.
Yes, we have to keep our mask on, and You know, her little notes fell on the floor, and I picked it up, and I could sense that she didn't want to take them from me, but I'm like, these are your notes. They were like, the wind blew it. She had to,
Oh, no toques eso.
¿Qué?
Dice, no toques esas cartas, no las toques.
Yeah, no, they were.
Marisel, did you go too?
Yes. I got on stage and I took a couple pictures, like if I was on the mic saying some chistes mongo, pero I'm not funny, but you know what? We had such a good time. She is amazing. And I love your guys' chemistry together.
Yeah.
It's like not competition, you know, it's like we need women like that to embrace each other, rise together, stay together. En no hay competencia. Como mami dice, aquí hay para todo.
Yep, that's true. That's
So move over, Anna, because I got some chistes or two.
We're challenging Marisel to do stand-up comedy because you and I are more alike, and Anna and Marisel are more alike. You know, she's more the funny. Like, she could say like simple little things that have no meaning whatsoever, but you would laugh. And so one of our shows, we were talking about challenging Marisel to do stand-up before the end of the year. I think you, yeah. I think you need
it's
to
like a virtual stand-up type thing where you record it and then.
We don't know how. We just.
No, I'm gonna be on the Mikey O show. Melendez, the Ponce restaurant, Ponce Life, in the house.
I love it.
Something, because she's funny.
I'm gonna have to bring la olla de arroz con gandules. Toma, Pati, cógela con gandules.
That sounds so good right now.
It does. I know. I have to keep myself out of her restaurant because, you know, that's heavy food and it's fried food and it's good food. And when she'll come to my house, because she comes over, you want ponce? Pero nena, como que si no quiero ponce? Of course I want ponce. You cannot bring ponce, you know?
Actually, I've been using that Ponce get a free card. I didn't have to use it to get out of jail. No. He knew me and I know his mom, so me dejó pasar. I didn't have to use the Ponce card. But the Ponce card works a lot. Oh, hay fiesta, Mari, tú traes Ponce. Pues ahí estoy. If I don't bring Ponce, they won't let me in.
Nope.
I gotta tell people about the story that we shot with you, Marisel.
Oh, yes. Oh, let me tell you.
I just wrote it and Vicky's putting it together. I'm actually going to shoot a stand-up here in a little bit for it. So this is really interesting, and I think it brings attention to the work that minority women and women-owned businesses, the role that they're serving in our community. So we found 3 women, Marisel being one of them, Yari from Cafe Yari or Yari.
Oh yeah, I was just there.
Or Casa Yari, I can't remember. And then from Jibaritos y Más, Yaritza, I think is her first name.
Yaritza. Yeah.
Yaritza, there we go. So the 3 of them are thriving during this COVID pandemic. You see all these stories about restaurants having to shut down, closures because there just aren't enough people, buying at these restaurants or attending these restaurants. Well, we found these 3 women that are thriving during the pandemic and what has made them succeed during such a difficult time. So a few of the things that they pointed out, perseverance. So just keep at it, be consistent. The more consistent you can be with customers, the more likely of a chance you'll have that your business will be successful. The second thing, passion. So they've all had a passion for years and years and years to do this. The lady from Jibaritos y Más said that she came here from Venezuela 20 years ago, and she would always look at that corner and say, oh, maybe one day I could have a restaurant at that corner. Fast forward to today, her restaurant was booming. I mean, it was on fire, the amount of people that were in there. And then the third thing is be kind of ingenuity and be resourceful and be creative. So at a time during the pandemic, she had to come up, Yari had to come up with a smaller menu so that she could cook things herself. She would change the menu consistently so that people were always looking forward to different things that she was going to cook. I think it's a really interesting story, and I love that all 3 of these ladies are Latinas, right?
Yes.
So it shows you kind of the cool things that we're all doing. And I think it's to be commended. And these ladies, big applause, big applause.
Yay! Yeah, it's no easy task. And I was at Yadi's restaurant recently, and Marisel I support that. And, there are a lot of individuals out there that think that there is no hope for their business, right? Yeah. And they have to maintain that grit and like those 3 things that you said to just keep going and not to stop, right? So hopefully this is all just temporary. By the end of the year, hopefully a good start.
My Lord, please.
Because I'm already on like my 10th mask. I bought so many masks. I'm like, I must start switching these off. Stop wearing lipstick because they mancha,
Yeah.
That is awesome. I can't wait to see that. So on the same topic of women, we have male viewers too, but, what is your advice to just women in general? Those who are just trying to just keep their heads lifted up high and positive and trying to navigate sort of the environment that we're facing today. What do you say to them?
I always tell people every day you should try to find 2 or 3 things in the morning when you wake up. Like, okay, today I'm grateful for, my daughter, that I get to have a nice lunch, that I get to go to work at a nice place. I think because that sets the tone for the rest of the day. Mm-hmm. So I think that's a big thing. And number 2, I think connections are very important. Yes. Even at a time like this, try to network, maybe reach out to one person every day. One person who's like on a personal level that you have a connection with. Maybe it's a sister or a cousin or a relative that you haven't talked to in a long time. And then one on a business level, right? Somebody who you want to connect with that might be able to help you down the road, either start a business or give you some advice, or because who doesn't like to get a note, right? Don't you like when you text message from whoever it may be, like, "Ay, se pensaron en mí, qué rico."
Yeah.
I think that's good.
No, and then what I started was writing letters.
Mm-hmm.
I bought a postcard because I seen when we do Zoom with her, she has a lot of shoes, pictures in the background. So I found one and I just wrote her a quick letter and, a little note, and I mailed it out. So those are kind of personal, and those, let's do that. Let's write a letter at least once a week to someone, that.
Yeah, and helps the post office too.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so very much advice is like affirmations as well. Wake up and, say,
be grateful.
This is going to be better than yesterday. This had to be yesterday.
Yeah.
But, keep motivating each other and lifting. And I am so grateful and thank you for taking the time to be in our Boricua Talk show, which is, something that you got to look out for because we need a time slot at 10:09.
I've told you guys that I'm kind of like a Cuba Rican. So my parents are Cuban, but when I was 1, we moved to Puerto Rico, and I lived there like 11 years old. So I was basically raised in Puerto Rico for a big part of my life, a big chunk of my life. And I got married in Puerto Rico.
Yes, that was
you
did.
Yes. What? How did I not know this?
Yeah. I buried the lead. I buried the lead, yeah. So I'm kind of like an adopted Puerto Rican.
Hey, welcome to the familia,
Thank you.
We love everybody in our, we invite everyone into our family. As you know, we're huggers and we're we love to kiss, we love to hug, we like to feed you, we love feeding people. I live in pretty much an all Caucasian neighborhood, and people love coming to my house because I create a spread when they come, and they love it. That's just the way we are. Our doors are always open. That's typical of all Latinos in general. We just open our doors and welcome everybody in. A comer y tomar and everything else. And unfortunately, we're at the end of our show.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you, ladies.
Say one thing, Elizabeth. What is Marisel's favorite food at your house?
Arroz con candulia y pernil.
What's your favorite food, Lourdes?
Oh, my favorite food? I love it all.
I know.
I'm gonna give you a good answer. Anything that my husband cooks for me.
Oh,
Esta colectó puntos hoy. Yes.
boy. You get a brownie point today.
Last night, and it was really good. So a big applause to him.
Wow, great. Marisel, why don't you take it away?
Okay, so my cup says, it ain't easy being a queen, but when you have a tribe like Lourdes, Elizabeth, we wake up every morning to make change. So let's be that change since yesterday.
Yay! Thank you so much, Lourdes, for being on our show. We wish you the best of luck with motherhood. Say hi to Maddie for us. Thank you so much for, I know you're busy, so you know what, this means the world to us. Yeah. And we thank you. And we will see all of our viewers next week. Have a great week. Bye.
Yeah.